Hey guys, Dungeon Saber Duelist here, back for another review since we finished Final Fantasy 16. The big things we're going to cover is uh, the world and atmosphere, like what we think of the locations, what we think of the visuals, the gothic style of the game. We will cover uh, the skill trees for the icons, gear upgrades, accessory loadouts. Um, we're also going to go over the combat and what I thought of the combat. Lackluster. I hate this game. Just putting it out there right now. This game was garbage. Don't recommend it. Story and writing was okay as far as the story, but there's parts that are slow. We'll get into that. Side content and exploration. We'll look at that. And even the DLCs. We talked about those. And yeah, so hopefully you guys want to or like these kind of videos, because this is what we're going to start doing is after we beat a game, we will start doing reviews on said games. So let's get into it.
Step into the Dueling Dimension Gaming Tavern.
It was Moss the Chronicler who said that the land of Valisthea is blessed in the light of the Mother Crystals, and that it was this light which finally led our forebears out of the darkness. Yet, what they saw in the light gave rise to temptation. Temptation that ever lures us back into the crystal shadow. And thus did our journey begin.
Okay, world and atmosphere. Gothic, medieval style areas. Scorched wastelands, magic drain. So there's very little magic around, except, we're the main character. We have magic galore, apparently. There's a lot of crystal ruins. And then you got stuff like this for transport, I guess.
Well, this isn't at all foreboding.
So, that's. And these towns are really small. And I thought they would be bigger. We've seen games like Final Fantasy IX, big bustling towns. And then you think, or would think, that, hey, it's just because that's a small town. But then you go Eastpool, not much bigger. And it seems like every big town you end up going to gets destroyed by an icon. You destroy it, monsters destroy it. And there's not that much in the way of shops at all. Like, that's literally it for this town. And then you think, oh, Northreach, that sounds like a big place. Oh, look, a castle wall and everything. But again, not very big. No places to walk into, no armor shops, no weapon shops, no accessory shops. There's like one place in the entire town that you can actually go to. There's the local map. There's nothing. There's one guy out here for a shop. But in the town, there's nothing. It's just the market's on the outside. Then you're like, oh, well, we'll go down here, which is another place that you visit quite often. You look around here, and then right there, you go out to the next area. But you know, this place is important. How can a place with one place to buy weapons and armor at, which is this person out here, by the way, not even in the market, just on the outside as you're heading out the doors, be the only place to buy stuff? All right, let's go across here. You're like, oh, another town. Bigger, but as soon as you get here, due to the story, it's already abandoned. You just walk into a bunch of enemies, so there's nothing here. Like, you look around, there is no place to buy items. So, very, very disappointing there as well. And then I thought there's a big town, it's destroyed. There's a big town, that one's abandoned because you destroyed it at the beginning. There's a big town. You destroy that one too. Hideaway. Okay, cool. The hideaway. That's a good place. That one's destroyed. That one's abandoned and destroyed. That one's destroyed. There's nobody in here. And yeah, there's all the big places get blown up, destroyed, or abandoned. So very disappointing in the way of towns because you can't buy a lot of stuff. So what are you supposed to do with all the money if you don't want to buy all the songs and stuff? Absolutely nothing. All right, looking at the gear progression customization also feels, some of it's overwhelming, some of it's lackluster. Like weapon, it's literally buy weapon, upgrade weapon, so that it's like a +1 like this. You forge it with the blacksmith, you buy it or you find it. So not very a lot of things to do as far as weapons. It's always a sword. Yeah, that one was given to me. That a couple of these were given. Like all the 160s were given. That one wasn't. So those were given early as a pre-order bonus, but that's besides the point. Then you got these that were bought. This was bought from Karen, and then upgraded by the blacksmith. And then when you go further into the game, you can get more crafting materials to make better weapons, but that's about it. With the belts, again, buy, forge, bind is it. Same with the ram braces. But there's no armor. Like, there's no chainmail. There's none of that. Like, where's my chest piece? Where's my leg pieces, my leggings, my shoes? Not all of that is missing from like a typical RPG for gear. Sure, you got your accessories, which mostly is stuff to increase damage on certain abilities. Or it's an early accessory, like these timely accessories, so that you can easily avoid damage using the R1. At least in my case, I played on the PS 5, so you push the R1 to avoid using timely focus. Combat, yeah. So the gear was lackluster. The icon skill trees, I feel like you pick up all of these, which is the Phoenix slash Ifrit. You can reset them at any time. You also get these, which is the Phoenix up here. These are Clive's skills on the outside. Inside is like Ifrit stuff or other. And then as you progress through the game, you get different icons. First you start with the Phoenix and you play with that. And then I had all the stuff for the Phoenix, at least as much as I could. And then you find that he's not the best. So you start getting rid of skills and resetting it, because apparently you can reset all your skills at any time you want for free. And then you go into Garuda and you get her skills. Okay, and you can swap between the two. Okay, and then you get Ramu. Ramu seems to be good, especially Judgment Bolt. Earlier in the game, I used Pile Drive and I used Lightning Rod as well, until I could afford to max out Lightning Bolt or Judgment Bolt. Well, then you get Titan. Well, once you get Titan, Garuda goes bye-bye. And I played with the Titan, but I didn't use Wind Up. Wind Up was garbage. I used the Raging Fist. I used the Upheaval. That was nice. But the Titanic Block felt pretty worthless to me. It was easier to do the dodge. And then you get Bahamut, so then Titan goes away. And you focus on the Giga Flare. The Impulse is meh. The Satellite is meh. The Flare Breath, decent, but slow. The Wings of Light are interesting, but again, slow to charge. So you kind of stick with the Giga Flare. Shiva is nice because of her Cold Snap, so you can move around the battlefield quicker. Same with the Phoenix Shift for the Phoenix, which is why we use Phoenix and Shiva. But for Shiva, we only pick up Diamond Dust. That was the most effective. This one, Rhyme never used. Ice Age I used at the beginning, and I used Mesmerize at the beginning. Odin seemed overpowered. I never used the Rift Slip, but I did use Gungnir. I used Heaven's Cloud. I used Arms of Darkness. And then eventually I switched to Dancing Steel. And then once you get it to level 5, you just unleash Arms of Darkness. Or not Arms of Darkness, you unleash special ability and Tuscan Blade, or however you pronounce. Leviathan you get from a DLC. Most worthless summon abilities I ever got. I used it for about 5 minutes and then never used it again and discarded all the ability points that I put into it. During my main playthrough, didn't even get this. So I'm not sure if you have to beat the game to get it or what, but I beat the game and then I ended up loading up the pre-save to beating the game, and I went to the one stone that was having problems and killed some guys, and then these abilities became available, so I tried those a little bit. But yeah, so the customization of the icons is probably the biggest thing that you can do. The gear upgrades are non-existent. The side characters, you can't do anything to them. They help you, but they don't actually, you don't control them. You can't equip them. You can't change their equipment. So that's not useful at all. So it's all about mastering Clive's toolkit, which I feel is very easy depending on how you play. I even put it on the hardest difficulty, and it's still, for going through the first time, I put it on the highest difficulty I could. Game was still so easy it wasn't even funny. All right, so in order to showcase off combat gameplay, yeah, I'm just gonna run through this a little bit to show off the combat. So first, all you got is basic sword strikes, and there's certain you can dodge like no one's business. And there's some extra special abilities. Okay, sometimes I can like bounce off their heads. And then all you got is limit break, which also heals you, by the way. So now I can't showcase it apparently because of the mode we're in. But on the left, there's normally potions, and those are very limited in supply. Never even went through any of all my potions. Like, now I'm showcasing off like Odin's skills. Which are insanely powerful. Like, all the skills that we have available to us made the game so easy to beat. But in addition to that, it made it boring. I'm already getting bored because it's so repetitive. Hit with sword, use special ability, rinse, repeat, maybe do some dodges. And this is the hardest difficulty from the base game. All right, guys, so this is probably my favorite part in the entire game is when Sid becomes Ramu, takes out this crystal, and you're like, yeah, the good guys for the win. And then Sid dies. Spoiler alert, Sid dies. And it's very depressing because right after Sid dies, the game goes it dips. The story's a lot slower. It doesn't have the same pace. It doesn't push you along like it did the rest of the time. You don't get an emotional attachment to the characters because I like Sid. Everybody loves Sid. Doesn't matter what game it is. But because I'm not controlling the other characters, I don't care about them. Except for Sid. Sid just has that vibe, you know? And there Sid dies. And you know he's dead. Like, and then continuing on with the story, then on top of this, you've already lost the guy that Bahamut just getting into the place. Not that you really connected with him much. That was more Joshua connected with him. But your brother dies right here, just as you're about ready to take on the final boss. And you're expecting this big and wonderful and glorious battle. Also felt lackluster.
With my light in your heart, not even a god might stop us. Joshua! He is too far gone. If the wound does not take me, the curse will.
Like it just feels like the game's all about death, which is honestly fine with a mature tone. But it just, the deaths don't feel meaningful. Like I kind of laughed. He's crying, and I'm like, I'm trying to figure out if Josh was actually dead. Like, I don't know. I guess in a lot of games and movies and stuff, it's like, is he actually dead? Even though there's blood everywhere, he is the Phoenix. So there is that. Like, here's where I'm gonna end the story, is the story portion, which kind of threw me, I'm not gonna lie. Because this is the end of the final battle, which he went through a couple, I think 2 forms or so.
The only fantasy here is yours, and we shall be its final witness.
And you're like, oh, he's gonna big final fight. And then you're like, oh, okay. Get shot. And then you're like, wait. There's a hole in his chest. He that can't be it. And then you're just gonna punch him. Yeah, it's magic and all, but you're like, it's the story takes you to this point just to kill this dude, and then in the scene, there's no hole in his chest anymore. I don't. I just don't understand.
Tell me, what do you imagine will befall this world
Now,
now that you have gained your precious freedom?
maybe I'm just not understanding because like this is the work of a bad dude.
A sorry tale of sin and
He seems more like a gray character than a he's completely evil or he's completely good. Like even Clive isn't completely good.
It's who we are. We fight. We survive. We endure. We don't need a reason. We are imperfect creatures. When we stumble, we reach for a shoulder to lean on. When we fall, we stand back up.
But very, very disappointing.
We see the horizon.
So we're gonna move into the DLCs and talk about that a little bit. Side quests and exploration. We did go over the world and the atmosphere, so we don't need to even go into the exploration part because it's very limited. It's follow the path for the most part. As far as side quests, like you can go and do training, you can do an arcade mode and a stage mode, but then you can also unlock this Kairos gate, which we already did and started and showcased a little bit. Other side quests. Let's go up here to show off these. Oops, can't go that way. But what I'm talking about are the hunts. The hardest part about the hunts is just finding where they're at, which, you know, most of us just look it up anyways. Not a big deal. But the hunts are also easy. They're supposed to be difficult. They're not difficult. You just avoid, attack, use skills, rinse, repeat. Like, just look at these hunts. Like, I did all these hunts. Like, where is it? Like, this one was kind of annoying just because of some of the things he did and he would protect himself. I'm not sure if that's the right dragon or not, but there was a dragon that I beat. It was like 15 levels higher than me. I think it was that dragon. But it's 15 levels higher than me, and I still beat it without much issue. It did kill me a few times, so it was one of the few things in the game that killed me. The other was probably the Titan. There might have been another time or two, I don't remember. But yeah, out of the hunts, he was literally the only one that killed me, which was kind of annoying. And then looking at all the other side quests. So if we look at the journal, and those are main quests. Cool. Then we have these green ones. They're all side quests. A lot of them are go fetch this. Like some of these are just go fetch this, or take this meal to a patron. Most of them have no impact on the story at all. So ones it did is not sure if it was that one or not, but basically you get your chocobo back, which you grew up with as a child when you were still with your dad. The blacksmith blues was interesting because you got better weapons out of it and gear. And you learn more about the blacksmith. There's another one that you learn more about Karen. And I think those are really the only ones that mattered. All the rest were just go pick this up, go pick that up, go help this person, go grab that. They felt like fetch quests. I hate fetch quests. They're kind of boring. And it's just filler material. Sure, it levels you up a bit, but what's the point of it when it's go fetch item, some random NPC talks to you a little bit that you're never going to talk to again or very seldom going to talk to again. So yeah, that was very concerning and boring with this game when I'm used to side quests in other Final Fantasy games actually having an impact on the story, or you meet those characters several times over. Final Fantasy X, you talk to, I believe his name's Ren, with the Albed primers, and you can learn the Albed language. You know, that's the whole thing. These were just like small little fetch quests that were pretty boring. Or, you know, the Chocobo race or breeding in Final Fantasy VII, so you could get the amazing Chocobo, and I believe it was you could find a weapon or item or something. I don't remember. 7. This is OG 7. It was such a long time ago. But yeah, quests and boring. Side paths shallow, boring, monotonous. Don't recommend doing it if you don't have to. DLC Revenge of the Fallen. So I found this one interesting because there's black crystals, and then unlike the normal crystals that last quite a long time, they're like one use and done, and they were man-made compared to naturally formed, I guess, and naturally mined. And then you have this robotic creature that protects the heart. Actually a difficult fight compared to the rest of the game itself. Even harder than the final boss, in my opinion. Like, he was kind of annoying. Just trying to put out the damage and avoid all of the abilities that he was dishing out. And then he gets a second form, which makes him even stronger. And he even got hit by this ability a few times, which if you're in that blast, it is not your day. Like, I died a couple times in this area. And I was using the strongest abilities that I had at the time. But it was an interesting story for Revenge of the Fallen. And then once you destroy this guy, which we can...
But what of the cages? Back. What remains?
destroy the heart. So I feel like this was actually a good DLC to play through. It gave more lore, not even a lore overload. It was just interesting altogether to me because it expanded on the idea of, I look at it as like diamonds. You have man-made diamonds and then you have natural diamonds, which we don't, slightly different. Our diamonds don't give you magical abilities or anything.
For what? But that doesn't make what we've...
Oh, Sid. I don't.
And then the place goes boom. And then bye bye Crystal. And then that's kind of the end of the DLC for Revenge of the Fallen. Now we're looking at Rising Tide, and we get to the point of fighting Leviathan. Probably the most obnoxious boss you could ever fight. It was very difficult for me. Like, putting out the damage here was fine. But let me skip a little ways. And there's this bubble shield right here that if you don't time your abilities and use them in the proper sequence, you're going to die. But the story was amazing. The combat in this, annoying and monotonous once again, just like everything else. And then we finally get to a point where we can beat Leviathan with our Ifrit, which kind of surprising because, fire versus water.
If that's what you want.
But yeah, probably the best DLC for this game, and actually the best written in my opinion, where you take down Leviathan, even though it was a very difficult fight. But the story was well written, and I enjoyed this section of the game at least. And this is all coming from a baby, of all things. And this is where you kind of think Leviathan's going to survive and beat you or something. But good night. All right, so to put my final thoughts on this video, I thought the combat was annoying and boring. You know, there's not much to swinging a sword, jumping on a guy, hitting him in the back. There's not much to avoiding, like all of these abilities. There's not much to mastering the icon abilities, which you can't even master them all. At least not in the playthrough I did, unless, you know, you spent hours doing everything and just power leveling, which I didn't feel like doing. You probably could have if you went back through on New Game Plus, and then your New Game Plus, you probably could have mastered every ability. But that didn't matter to me. The story lackluster after Sid dies. Like, even the final boss was disappointing. The only good part was the DLCs as far as after Sid dies, which is the Revenge of the Fallen and the Rising Tide. If I had to do it again, I would pass on this game. There's certain Final Fantasy games I will go back to, play again and again and again. This is not one of them. Like, even if on New Game Plus, I did start on New Game Plus just to see what it was like. All it felt like is you keep all your powers and abilities cool, but it's just everybody's a meat shield. So, very disappointing game. Not a direction I hope they keep going. And hopefully Square does better in the future, because like the limited potions, didn't like that, even though I never really used all of my potions or all my tonics, whatever they gave me. And make combat more challenging. But this is it for this review. Catch y'all next time. Peace.